No sound, Azzy.
Sorry, I have my mic muted.
How
Yes,
is
please.
our sound working?
Good.
All good on our side? Okay, great.
So we should be live on YouTube. Twitch is taking a second.
Ooh, I just got the notice.
Hey.
Oh, we're live on. I forgot to connect to YouTube. I'm so excited because we're not connecting through my machine, and because my machine doesn't work.
Yay!
Yeah, Twitch is live. We are live on Facebook and Twitch. Hey.
Fantastic. Okay, I'm gonna go to get in the chat, y'all. The way I follow the chat, I actually just watch the stream on one station, so I can see what's happening in the chat. So if you're not looking at the chat, we will do our best to make sure that everybody's questions are answered, or that we ask you the questions if you're not looking at it. Excuse me. Oops.
Yeah.
I'm logged in as Obscure Undead. Let me sign out.
Have you gotten a hold of Malik?
That's the other thing I'm doing.
Okay.
I apologize, y'all. My internet is not fast. I could tell you right now we were going to have some problems with the whole thing.
Well, at least I'm hosting this week, so it should be okay.
That's right. I have to call everybody. I forgot.
Yeah.
Okay. Where are they? Oh, God. That's embarrassing. I was looking for their given name.
It's because they got this contract with Young and Cold first, so now him and Nick Cole, they are distributing
Is that me making that noise? I hope not. Okay, so I've invited, and Skype just shows up, right? Azzy, you're sharing your screen with the Skype so you can see us all. So Malik is in the process of joining. No sound, Azzy.
Sorry. Like, actually in the process of joining?
Yeah, oh, it dropped. Oh, no. It says unavailable.
Oh, no.
Do they not have internet, maybe? I had internet problems like 2 or 3 times this week, so I don't know. All the stupid people are going to the beach, so I don't know why the rest of us are having internet problems.
Right.
Oh.
We've actually just been told at my job that we are not going into the office without permission until September.
Mike is still covered, at least.
Right. I work in a software company. We can work at home easy. Yeah. Nothing to it.
Same.
Okay, let me get the chat out here. I don't see any. Well, there's 2 people watching us. So somebody's. Oh, I'm one of them.
Let's see. We have 6 people watching us across Twitch and YouTube.
I forgot it's Twitch. Oh, crap. God, y'all. One day I'll understand what's happening as it's happening. Okay, let's see if it's... Okay, it's got the purple icon, so I'm cool. I forgot we were on Twitch already. But I do follow Obscura Undead, so... But I don't see my own face yet.
So here's the thing that's... What?
I'm on.
So here's the thing that's going to be a little bit confusing is I can respond to both chats at once. And I don't know how to get it to discriminate between chats. Oh, I found it. Okay, never mind. Problem solved.
Cool. Yeah, so I can kind of see both chats. Let me pop out the one chat and then I'll make my window smaller and then I can see both at the same time without interfering with each other. Okay, yeah, I can see also several Azzies. So let me get to the live chat.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
No, all I see on the live chat is Obscure Undead and DJ Sinis. Sinis.
Sinus.
Oh, hey.
Okay, let me go back and see if I can get Malik again. Let's try add. I keep forgetting we're on Skype. Everything else is so much easier to add people to because you don't have to click a second time. You just do a thing. You do a thing, you get added, it's all good. So while we're waiting, are y'all excited? When is your album dropping?
Our album is dropping on June 26th, actually, yeah.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't look. I saw it says pre-order on my Bandcamp.
Yeah, tomorrow we're releasing a video, though, the first single.
Oh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So there's 2 singles on it right now, right?
Right, so the first one is The Visitor, which like we kind of actually didn't consider a single because it was part of the EP. So we re-recorded it and remastered it in better quality, and we put it immediately available. And the other one is the one that we're releasing tomorrow in Goth Trust via postfunk.com. They were so nice to have us. So
Super nice.
Yeah.
Well, both of those songs are the ones on the album that show lyrics already, and I couldn't read the lyrics while I was listening to them today. But usually I read the lyrics because I have a tendency to forget or just start daydreaming in the middle of whatever I'm doing. It doesn't matter. So if I read the lyrics, then I'm paying more attention to the song. So then when I listen to the song without reading the lyrics, then I understand the song better later. I don't always have time to do that. Like today, I was at work, naughty listening to some music and watching videos. I mean, I wouldn't do that. It's wrong. I can't see. It says there's 9 people on Twitch. 9 watching now. Okay, so we're live on Twitch. We're having issues. Is Dea joining us this evening? Dea's taking the day off?
I hadn't heard from her one way or the other if she was going to join us, so I'm assuming no.
Well, that's what I assume. When I don't hear from someone, I assume no. Okay, well, what are we talking about tonight? Latin American goth?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a tiny subject spanning 2 continents and 1 territorial area that some people think is a continent, Central America. Well, seriously, I don't remember when I figured out that Central America is not actually a continent.
Oh, so you're talking about yourself. Got it.
I'm talking about me, and if I didn't catch it because I love geography and I love to look at maps, then I'm sure other people have made it through college thinking that Central America is a continent and or everything south of Mexico is South America.
I mean, you are not by far the worst that we have heard. Like once we were on a lift, and since we were talking Spanish, right, the driver goes like, "Hey, can I ask you a question, guys?" Sure. She was like, "What is the difference between Mexico and New Mexico?"
Oh, was it a kid? Was it a kid?
No.
Like
Uber driver.
Yeah, like a 50-something woman.
Wow, we have such a great education in this country.
And I was like, how do I explain you that one is part of your own country and the other one is in a different country that happens to be next to yours? So.
Well, when I was a kid, we moved to New Mexico. We moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico. And when I told all my 13-year-old friends, they thought it was Mexico. They really didn't get that New Mexico is a territory in this country. I mean, they just didn't know it's New Mexico. I think that is a bigger problem for a lot of people.
New houses, new cars, everything is new.
Right, now we have a New Mexico. Cool, that's the second one. The old one wore out.
Michelle, Dea says that you're not alone in thinking that Central America is its own continent, and I trust Dea since she teaches like high school.
Right. Well, I mean, I figured it out like decades ago, but I remember being in grade school and thinking it was a continent. I don't know, and it's just one of those things. I assume if I thought that, there are full-grown people who do, which apparently we have people who don't know the difference between Mexico and New Mexico.
Yeah. Oof.
Wow.
Dea says that she won't name names, but she knows a grown woman who asked her how Hawaii is so hot and Alaska so cold when they're right next to each other. Like a U.S. map.
Oh no! Like where they have it both out in the
That's
ocean. Oh. Grown woman, huh? Yeah. I've been really entranced with maps that show the actual size of countries. Like this week, I looked at the actual size of Costa Rica, which I thought was larger than it is by twice, I think. And then I compared it to Spain and Portugal and France. I mean, to Texas. I compared all this to Texas. Sorry, I left that part out. And I thought Portugal was the same size as Florida, which I think it is, but I think that I thought Florida is bigger than it is.
Florida's just
So
long.
Yes, it is. Long and skinny. So it was really interesting. So in Chile, do you have people that like to go from completely south all the way north as a very, 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 very long vacation?
Actually, yeah. Usually it's the other way around, though. Like people go to the south of Chile much more because there you have the Patagonia, like, or the south jungle is like a cold jungle, you could say. It's a lot of nature. Yeah, it's super cool.
You know, I remember this from the school, right? So Chile has 2 million square kilometers, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the total surface, but only 750,000 are, let's say, you can live on them, right? The next is, let's say, the Arctic or desert or islands or whatever, right?
Right.
So, it's very small, actually. Chile is very small, but we have the desert on the north, and then the south is very cold, so it's very, diverse.
Well, that's because of the mountains, right? Is it the Andes?
No. Yeah.
Well, no. It's because of the latitude. It's very long. It's very thin.
Right.
And so you have certain latitude, different weathers.
So it's a lot of mountains and a lot of beach, but cold beaches and warm beaches and desert.
And wine, a lot of wine.
Oh.
Yeah, like if you ever go to the supermarket and go to the wine section, go to Chilean wines. They are super good and super cheap. Like for $10, a very good wine.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yep. Hey, Malik.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Hello.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you both.
Nice to meet you.
Trying to set up here.
Okay, so
sorry.
the thing you're fine. We were just waiting for Malik because we've started making ourselves introduce ourselves. But also, give us your pronouns. He, she, her, they, them. So
They, them.
Can we start?
Oh, sorry.
Well, I was starting with our special guests.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead and go, Malik.
My pronoun is they, them, and I'm a DJ from Orlando. And also I work with Obscure Undead.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Malik. I'm Jules. I'm from Pilgrims of Yearning, and my pronouns is she, her.
Claudio from Pilgrims of Yearning. My pronoun is he.
Michelle.
Is it my turn?
Yes.
Well, I'm the host of this Skype. You're the host of the stream. I get
Okay, I'll let
confused.
you do all the work then. Hello, my name is Azzy. I'm a DJ from Tampa. My pronouns are they, them.
Hi, I'm Michelle, aka Skullgirdle is my YouTube channel, and my pronouns are she, her. I don't care if you call me they, them. But if you call me he because you can't figure out my name, then I get upset. I get called Michael a lot. Well, sometimes when people are looking at me, it's confusing to them.
Well, you work in tech, right? Like, tits and tech just don't mix.
Yes, I know.
All right, Michelle,
What's
would you like to
going on?
introduce the
Yeah.
topic? Give some background information on the guest?
Yes. All right, y'all. Tonight we're speaking of Latin American goth. And for those who are unsure of what Latin America is and how it's different from Hispanic, Latin America is Western Hemisphere. And I call it generally the Spanish-speaking nations, but it is everything south of the U.S. That includes Mexico, all the way down to the tip, and I think Chile is the tip. And our guests are Jules and Claudio from Pilgrims of Yearning, and currently residing in the U.S. But are you both from Chile? I thought, yeah.
I am from Chile.
I'm from
Okay.
I'm from Colombia originally.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Latin American goth. We also know that Malik is from Puerto Rico, and therefore we have, luckily, more than just our guests who are Spanish speakers, and there's a shitload, if y'all don't realize, and we talk about it all the damn time. So if you're a regular with Obscure Undead, you should know that Latin American goth has no waves because it never stopped.
That's totally correct.
Does that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's actually. Go ahead.
just a small like jump in there. Generally, you think about Latin America like the Spanish-speaking countries, and this is a bit controversial, but Brazil and the Guyana are also part of Latin America. Some Brazilians they don't like to identify themselves as Latinos though, so that will depend on the Brazilian person you're talking with. But yeah, for us, they're all included, and we will love to talk about some Brazilian bands as well tonight.
Right, and that's the difference between Latin American or Latino, Latina, and Hispanic. Because Hispanic, if I have it correct, is people from nations that speak Spanish, which Brazil is Portuguese. And what did you say? What was the other one?
Right. So you have, for instance,
The Guyanas, the French Guyanas, for instance.
Yeah. Okay.
The island on the Caribbean islands.
Right.
Guyana is not an island. It's right next to, like, it's between Brazil and Venezuela.
Venezuela, yeah.
So yeah. I mean, Hispanics is usually like Spanish-speaking countries in Latin America plus Spain, right? So that's another thing that is, it's a bit confusing, all this terminology, but yeah.
Well, we in the U.S. we have a lot of people who like to overgeneralize and won't go to the effort and call everybody who looks like they might be from what they think is a Spanish-speaking nation. And I'll just go ahead and cover this because they will call people Hispanics or Mexicans, and that they include everybody in that. And that is 99.9% white people. That's my people being racist. So that's why I just want to differentiate, because that is how I not exactly was raised, but a lot of how I was raised.
And this might come as a surprise for a lot of people, but yes, Mexico is in North America. Geographically speaking, it is in North America. So you want to call it something else, I'm sorry, but geographically speaking, it is North America. So I don't know.
Yeah, as well as Belize, Honduras, Costa Rica, right? There's a bunch. Everything Panama and North is North America.
No,
Right.
that is.
Do I have it wrong?
No,
I was thinking Panama
that's
Canal.
Central America, and then the Caribbean islands, which are, Cuba and all of the other islands, including Puerto Rico, which is not near the U.S. Because a lot of people also
Kinda
think
close.
that
That's
because
weird.
we're citizens, therefore we're next or somewhere around that. Not. We've been a colony since 1898. That's when the U.S. invaded us, and they imposed on us on November 16 of 19. 1916, the um, the citizenship, basically, the American citizenship. So we can go to their wars in the First World War, which we went to. I mean, a lot of Puerto Ricans went to. I didn't go to that, but yeah. So stuff like that. And Puerto Rico used to have a currency. They devaluated and also imposed their currency on us. So that's what we use. But
well,
that's
right.
I think we can say that we all, or a lot of us Latin people, have some influence from the U.S. Some
some way somehow, yeah.
Influence there.
From the imperialist white, still barely dominated white nation. We're imperialist.
Sure. Yeah.
I love telling, well, people who seem conservative to me that we're an imperialist nation because they always try to dispute it or they just kind of ignore. Okay, so Claudio, what kind of wine were you drinking? Somebody asked that.
Oh, this is a Chilean wine, of course.
What brand is it?
Carmener, it's a Carmener. Carmener is it's a type of wine that initially was from France, and then there was a kind of what is the word, Julia?
It was a plague.
A plague, thanks.
The phylloxera.
Right. So there was a plague in France. So this the type of seed was lost, and then it was found in Chile some years ago. So let's say it's a
it's a variety.
Not very common. It's,
Carmener.
Both of you from Chile, may I ask?
Colombia.
You're Colombian?
Right, but
I'm Chilean.
Okay.
I was born in Colombia, and then I moved to Chile when I was around like 14 years old.
Oh.
Okay.
Right.
So speaking last thing, speaking of imperialistic America, it was the U.S. who founded Augusto Pinochet to take down Salvador Allende in 1973. After he won the election, by the popular voters. So it was the U.S. who founded Augusto Pinochet, who was a terrible dictator in Chile.
So
just so people know.
I'm sorry, short, yeah.
I mean, this was all like in the context of the Cold War, because Salvador Allende was the first socialist president elected by the people. So the U.S. in that context of the Cold War couldn't accept that, right? And they had to overthrow him. And this is why also Chile ended up being the first country in which the neoliberalist system was applied. We were like laboratory of the neoliberal system. And hopefully we will be the first country to turn it down right now. Like we have like
please.
We have a continuous situation of social unrest going on in Chile since October last year. The pandemic has stopped it a little bit for obvious reasons, but people are still there and people are gonna go back to the streets. They are doing so right now, actually. But yeah, I mean, the U.S. has had a big influence in the history of Chile and other nations in South America. About the same time in the 70s, a lot of dictatorships aided by the U.S. happened around the early 70s.
Yep.
We can agree upon that. That's it.
Yeah, nobody has a dispute for that one. But I do have a question. There is the Shah of Iran, and I know this is going to sound really weird. In the 50s, the original Shah of Iran was deposed, and it's what is called a false flag. Do y'all know what a false flag is? That's where people say it's a conspiracy, and one government goes in and quietly causes something to happen while deflecting with something else. Like we could say the Korean War was happening at that time. Was that the same thing that happened in Chile in the 70s? Did we have something else happening so nobody was paying attention while we did this? Because I mean, obviously, we're an imperialist nation. We're still imperialist, and we still are like the bullies of the world.
I think I don't know. I think, basically the attention was never in Chile, in South America, and has never been. I mean,
Yeah.
if you didn't notice it, because I mean, I would say the press, everything is centered here around the U.S., right? And you don't know. And it's not only the U.S. A lot of things were happening in the 70s in a lot of countries.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think that if anything, if it did make to the news or whatever, the U.S. always has this speech of like, we are saving the world, basically.
Yeah.
Themselves.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So
yeah, well, we're indoctrinated from a very young age. That whole to think we're the best, to think everybody wants to be us. People in the U.S., especially the white people, are indoctrinated to feel like you're better and people want what you have, and that's just not true.
Yeah, and actually we talked precisely about that in the song that we are releasing tomorrow, and that is why the name is In God You Trust, because it's like the twisting of this motto, right? The American motto, and it's a satire of this narrative that people have that here everyone wants to be a white American male, right?
That's I don't I'm just trying to think if I've ever met anyone who wasn't a white person in this country that wanted to be a white person, maybe treated as well as a white person, but to actually be a white person, I don't know that I've ever met anybody. I mean, it's a lie we grow up with. It's the same thing as we're told while we're being told all the same stuff, that we're not racist. I'm not racist. That's because you're raised to think you're not racist, motherfucker. You're racist. You're benefiting from the system. But so are there a lot of songs in Latin American and Brazilian goth, just to cover everybody, that is kind of what you're talking about, kind of satirical about the U.S., about us up here in northern North America?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, in Latin America, you have a lot of punk. I can tell you that.
Right. Well, yeah, we need rebellion.
Lyrics from a band. I'm talking about that. I will have to let me think in my files.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember like anything as specific as talking about the U.S., but yeah, there are lyrics.
Well, yeah. Gorgonas. One is I think it's "Fuck USA," if I remember well. Right? Gorgonas, right?
From
Mexico. Then,
well,
let me think more.
Malik, you're muted. You have no sound, Malik. But I know that in Europe, there's a lot. I mean, there's like, I think Grooving in Green did one. KMFDM has even done one, as far as they've fallen off the pedestal. But there's a lot of people that make fun of us. I just wasn't sure how much there was amongst Latinos making fun of the U.S., specifically the guys who are pointing guns at their crotch now to get back at liberals. Have you guys seen that?
No.
Sorry. I have to mention these things in the news. I keep up with the news. But interestingly, I saw, because I know someone Chilean was posting nonstop the news of the peaceful revolution that happened. That actually did make the news here, and it made the news more than once. So I personally am very impressed, and I hope it continues. I hope it's like a model for everyone getting out of the oppression. Because,
Yes.
Moldy old white dudes got to step aside for a minute or change the way they think and act.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean,
really hard not to.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. When people right now, in this context of the pandemics, they say, hey, so hopefully we will go back to normal soon. I'm like, hell no. Like that normalcy brought us here in the first place. So please, no, I don't want back that normal back. And it's like we really need to complete change of our mindsets, the way that we interact with other people, with the environment, within our cities, all of that. We need to rethink that.
Right. Nobody lives in a vacuum.
Yep.
Well, we're talking a lot about the U.S. and to be fair, our topic is goth, right? And at least I think it is. I don't know. We may have changed. It's pretty freeform. Who gives a shit? But
Well, it's Latin American goth.
so
Oh,
what's up, Malik?
can mute me.
You-
You're unmuted.
You're unmuted.
Am I? It
Yes.
says here I am not. Oh, I'm trying.
Okay,
I'm
well-
fighting with this. But
Well,
yes,
I did-
you were
I did-
right about that song. Yes,
So,
Gorgona had that song. And second of all, yes, Asi, you're right. That's the topic. But everything that we have said so far is in regard to that.
I know I was going to lead into a relevant segue.
Okay, good, because I have a segue too. So why don't you segue before I segue, and maybe I'll remember later.
Oh, well, my segue was, we've been talking a lot about how, like imperialistic America has had a lot of influence on Latin America in general. Because, U.S. is God complex, but whatever, it's fine. It's not, but, moving on. Well, I know that a lot of the assumption would be that goth came to Latin America by way of the U.S. And that's not true.
No. No, I don't think so. I would say that the first countries, I think, that in Latin America started with, like, let's say, with the Gothic scene, I would say maybe Brazil.
And Mexico.
And Mexico, of course.
Mexico was a couple years later. It started in simply due to this is something I find fascinating is that so you had La Movida Madrileña, right, in Spain, and you had a German record label called Areola Records who had signed a bunch of these Spanish bands, but they couldn't market them in Europe, so they marketed them in Latin America.
Really?
Through a series of compilations and samplers called Rockin' tu Idioma. And my Spanish is terrible, I do apologize. But so Latin America had goth like in the very early 80s.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
I've heard that.
The convenience of is the same language, right? I mean, it's Spain, it's Spanish, and right. So
Right.
yeah, back in the 80s, in the 70s, we had a lot of Spanish music coming to Latin America. I mean, so of course, it was easier. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like totally, like the influence of like in Latin America, we picked a lot of the European goth influences, mainly the UK, Spain.
Right, but I would say not in Brazil, right? Not in Brazil, because in Brazil they are not used, or at least years ago they were not used to listen to, let's say, Spanish.
Mm.
It's Hispanic, Latin, you know what?
So yeah, I mean, but Brazil from the very beginning, they got like the independent scene. So you have bands from the early 80s, like Arteno, I think is from that time.
Yeah, you have,
Who?
Arteno Escuro,
Oh.
like art in the darkness, you could say, like an approximate translation.
Yeah. I mean, we've been to Brazil a couple of times. We did a festival in Brazil. We co-produced a festival with some people from there, and we discovered from all these bands, from the 80s in Brazil. We were amazed of. They started like very early compared to other countries in Latin America. We're like, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like Michelle said earlier, like Latin America didn't have waves. It's been ongoing, like strong for forever.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that only recently has there been an interest in what's going on in the Latin American scenes, which
From outside of Latin American countries.
yes.
Yeah.
Specifically in the U.S., because, if it didn't originate, again, in a white country...
Mhm.
Yeah, Michelle rolled her eyes, I
In
made a
English.
face.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally true.
Well,
Do you think? Oh, go ahead.
no, sorry, but it's at the same time it's not as easy to to arrive to. I can tell you from if we were like a Latin band, we were part of Ammoniaco, right? A kind of famous band in the alternative scene in Chile, but we'll never get to the US, right? Because it's really not easy. You have a whole market here. You have Europe, right? Europe and the whole US, right? And you have to like kind of tour, and for that, it's very expensive to tour the US if you are underground, the currency and all that stuff. So it's
right.
I mean,
yeah, but I think that things have gotten with social media, but also I think that bands like She Passed Away, for instance, I've been a not English speaking band, right? That opened the doors also for bands from elsewhere, like Kelamikla, right? And now bands from Latin America. And we also have a community of Latinos here in the US. So like my hopes is that we, the Latinos in the US, can also be this sort of bridge, right? Between what's going on in Latin America and what's happening here. So that's the reasons that I'm super glad of being here tonight, right? Because there are so many, it's like so many good bands and DJs and nights that are going on and that have been going on for, as you have said, like for a very long time now.
Yeah, and they're like, I think you're absolutely right in saying that like She Passed Away has been really instrumental in getting people like past their stupid mindset of if I can't understand the lyrics, then the music isn't worth listening to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm 100% on board with that. Like that idea that it's She Passed Away.
I wonder if Blue Tangle achieved that goal. I don't know. I don't I don't go to places where they play. I don't know.
I mean, same, but I don't know. German has always been kind of accepted.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Well, most people think that the goth scene lives in England, the U.S., English-speaking U.S., and Germany. So German being more accepted, which is really interesting to me because death rock is from L.A., which has a heavily Spanish-speaking population. I don't know about Portuguese speaking from Brazil, but it's interesting to me, and I've heard unflattering to the person who made the comment that they were surprised at how many, I'll say Latinos, because that's not how they said it, they were very unkind, there were in LA. Oh yeah, there's a lot of racist fucks out there now. And I was like, well, good, because goth does not have a skin tone. I mean, we all can wear the same white makeup. It's not like we all come in the same colors of paper, white, shitty copy paper. But do you think that there's a heavier influence, and this does lead back to it, with LA and death rock, do you think there's more of an influence of that sound in the Central and South American scene?
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, Christian death is God, right, for in Latin America. I mean,
it's one of the main references.
Of course, yeah. I mean,
why do you think that is? Why do you think that they're so popular, and why do you think it is that the death rock sound traveled down to Latin America?
I think, in general, I think in Latin America, people listen to really a lot of music, really. And you have people like really into for instance, the neo-folk music, into the death rock or something like that, right? So, I mean, Christian Death is a reference, I would say, globally speaking, I would say, right? So, of death rock, right? Of U.S. death rock, right? So,
and with death rock, I think what you said before, right? That in Chile there is a lot of punk and like people who are not necessarily punk, but they are closer to that scene, to that mindset, and probably that's a good niche for like why death rock could like have such a good place in
right. And one more, Cinema Strange, much more new, right, from the 90s, But of course, with this new death rock concept, they are like really famous also in Latin America.
Yeah, well, it's because when we talk about Cinema Strange and Lucas Lanthier here, at least in the East Coast, people are like, who? they don't really know them, but in Latin America, in Mexico, and all the way down, they are super famous.
Yeah.
Wait,
I thought they were more famous here.
who would ever say, huh? Who? To Cinema Strange? What?
Yeah, I was like, they're like the modern thing that everybody holds up when everyone's like, I already know who 45 Grave is. Oh, well, what about Cinema Strange? I'm surprised that you've talked to people who don't really know who they are. They're so, to me, in today's scene, they're just kind of such a basic death rock band that everybody kind of knows if they know anything about death rock. But again, some people don't understand death rock at all. They don't get it. I've talked to people who are like, what exactly is death rock again? People in the goth scene who have no idea. And they're like, oh, it's the Mohawk people. I'm like, yeah, okay, there's a whole music genre there too. But yeah, we'll go with the death rock people. But it's very interesting to me because to me, the Latin American music that I hear has such a heavy death rock and punk influence. And some of that hardcore, not Black Flag hardcore, but like old school hardcore. Yeah. And I like it. Plus, there's also a lot of local music added in, like the flavor of the country, the area, the region.
Yeah, I mean, I can think immediately, for instance, in Diablo's Train, this of Chile, that I don't know, like people say that they are dark wave and stuff, and to me, they are heavily influenced by death rock, the Californian death rock. I mean, of course, they have some new sounds to it and the particular sound, but to me, they are not exactly like on the dark wave arena, if you know what I mean.
Do you think they're a crossover between death rock and dark wave? Because I wouldn't have called them dark wave either. I'd have to read that to think that.
Yeah, I think I would agree.
That might be a band I just call goth and don't really think about too much because you kind of know it fits in there. But again, I'm not a DJ. I don't need to categorize and put together nights of music, and I'm not playing in a band. So I don't need any kind of categorization.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The freedom of listening. Oh. Wow. Tough crowd, man. Tough crowd. Sheesh. Anyway, it's one of the things I admire most about just everything south of the U.S., honestly, is because you hear more, like, I feel like in the U.S., England, okay, everybody has their sound, right? Like, when you listen to goth music made in the U.S., or goth music made in Germany, or goth music made in, what's the other one, England or Australia? It's usually mostly English-speaking in Germany for some reason. Then we have a sound, like gothic rock guitars from Germany. You know when you're listening to it. American sound, we got a lot of dark wave and death rock and stuff like that. You kind of know when you're listening to it. England, you have like their more punk, post-punk sounds. Obviously, there's going to be crossover because hopefully we get to a real global point. But we're at kind of an information share. But I feel like, what is the band that I always say incorrectly, Malik? Los Reinas de Condenados. La Reinas de los Condenados.
La Reina.
Condenados.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But they sing in their native language. Well, two of them. They sing in Spanish, and the other one that Azzy knows the name of that I don't.
Quechua.
And personally, I want to see more of that.
I don't know. Are you maybe talking about La Procesión de lo Infinito?
No. It's Peruvian.
No, I like them too, though.
From Peru? Is it from Peru?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're from Peru. Yeah.
La Reina de los Condenados.
I think La Procesión del Infinito has a song or something. I don't know, like. All right.
What are you saying? In Quechua, no, but maybe
No, in Quechua, no. La Procesión del Infinito, I think, has a song which is called something with Los Condenados.
Oh, yeah.
Sí, pero no.
By the way, I love La Procesión del Infinito. They're amazing.
Yeah.
There's more. I found one that has I can't remember what band it is. I just found a song that had Condenados in it. Whatever, who cares? We can all look up that word and look for songs with the name in it, just figure it out ourselves. Yeah, I just think that that's really interesting because in the U.S. you don't see people playing death rock polka. That's polka music is generally U.S. It's not. It has its origins in Bavarian music, but in the U.S. the three old men playing their little instruments. You just don't really. It's like with the sledgehammer. I made that point, but I just made my point.
That would have been very interesting to hear.
Do you want to make death rock polka?
No, that's a stray no. But
like reggae beats and early gothic rock and shit like that.
It would be interesting if someone take that approach for me to listen to.
Accordions and death rock. Come on.
It's an accordion.
I heard
a snare drum and a clarinet. Thank you very much.
Hey, I come from Wisconsin. That's like one of the lands of polka.
Well, so does my family. So that's like wedding music is polka.
Yeah.
So
I heard saxophones too in goth music, so it doesn't.
Yeah, Totenwald uses sax a lot.
It's nothing. So, anyway, it will be interesting.
New one that has sax in it. I have a brand new album that I just bought that has sax in it.
Yeah, pretty cool. Also, is it
Totenwald?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not what mine. No.
Yeah.
They also put a little bit of.
Oh, they
sax.
put a lot of sax in their music.
That's for mouse.
Very saxy.
That's music for mouse.
Very for mouse.
I think I'm hilarious. Okay,
So,
what?
Didn't I don't know, maybe I'm completely remembering this wrong, but didn't God, I have a hard time pronouncing this band's name. Causa de Muerte, didn't they break up because of the like whole political situation in Chile?
I mean, well, we know these guys. We haven't asked them, honestly. I don't really like to meddle with other bands' affairs.
Well, I think that they said something on social media.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, they were like, part of the band was actually in Berlin, and they couldn't go back to Chile after they finished touring because of the social unrest. And part of the band was in Chile, and the other part of the band like got stuck in Europe for a while.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, and now they are starting with a new project, like this, the three band members who got stuck in Europe. They started with a new project recently called Human Distance. So very like.
Oh, I've heard them.
Yeah, very close to like very contingents.
Wow, that's quite a reason to break up.
See,
Yeah.
I need to know about this project they're starting because I love that band.
No, somebody in my Facebook feed shared something about Human Distance, and I was like, oh, Human Distance, that's interesting. I wonder where that was. I don't remember. That's what happens when so many people share a lot of music in your feed. You have no idea what you're looking at anymore. It kind of blends. But yeah, I saw Human Distance because I was thinking it was Human, the band Human, and I was like, wait, no, that says Distance. Cool.
Oh, this
Okay,
is
everybody, look out
awesome.
for Human
Label Young and
Distance.
Cold Records. They have a song that they did with Frio Ivasio.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. All right, now I know. Thank you.
Sure.
Oh yeah, Junkyard Bat saw that same thing about Human Distance. God dang, who shared that? Because there's some bands out there that share all the stuff that only share their own things, right?
Mhm.
They're on there, they're on Facebook, Instagram, all that shit, and all they want to do is promote. And they just share that stuff and they friend everybody in the whole wide world. It could be a person from the band or the band. And then there's other bands that share music that they think is good. Most of us don't share music we think is shit. But they share music that they think is good, and it's not just their own music. And I think it was a band that shared that, and I wish I could remember who it was. I'm trying to think of who shares a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Well, Son Sombra shares a lot of stuff. Last Dusk shares a lot of stuff.
Last Dusk does share a lot of stuff.
Yeah. somebody else. I think Outland Records shares a lot of stuff. Whatever. It was probably one of those people.
We're gonna see Twin Tribe sharing a lot more stuff now because of their label. What do they call it? Besos de Muerte?
Beso de Muerte, yeah.
Yeah. American distribution for Cold Transmission?
Young and
or
Cold.
Who was? Young and Cold, right. I knew it was a cold one. There's a lot of shit out there, y'all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, didn't she passed away get to come to the U.S. because they signed with Cleopatra? Wait, did they sign with Cleopatra or Metropolis?
Metropolis, I think.
Okay, it had to be one of those two to get him to the U.S.
It was not Cleo.
No. It wasn't. Okay, it was
Sombra. And Sombra's already in the U.S. So, but no, I think it,
Oh,
I think
yeah,
it was
yeah.
Metropolis.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm
so
pretty
they
positive
were
because they
lucky
did
enough
some
to come to
distro
the
on
U.S.
their albums.
And otherwise, other bands that are able, really, we'll call them small, the more obscure bands. I don't think of it that way. I just think of it as, ooh, this is good music. I mean, I don't care if you're famous or you're like recorded on top of your piano with an old style tape player. I don't give a shit. If it's good, it's good.
Right.
But the foreign resort actually was funded by the Danish government to come to the U.S. and that's why they get to come to the U.S. because it's like a sharing of the arts with other countries.
Well, I think Dioval Strain came because they were funded by the Chilean government, like the Arts and Culture Ministry or something.
Yep.
And that's so
yeah,
cool.
they had a weird thing where they were looking for a show, but they couldn't have another show in Texas because they had to sign an agreement. And there wasn't anything close enough for them in Oklahoma to perform at. I know, right? Would that be cool? Some little dive bar has Dioval Strain in Oklahoma.
They wanted
Norman,
to play
Oklahoma.
in Florida, but it was right during Absolution Fest. So
yeah, they were. I think they just wound up having like 3 or 4 days in between gigs, and they just wanted to do something.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
So I wonder if we could get more Latin American. The problem is that we have a $3,500 visa fee, and you don't get the money back if you get turned down. And it's what, a 50-50 chance of being able to actually perform in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to get through the second half of the tour before you make any money, before you have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just thinking, what if we did something? It's a very hipster thing to do, hosting bands so that they don't have to pay for hotels, so we can get them to the U.S. Because we just want to hear y'all here. Now we're lucky we have you guys in the U.S., so we get to hear you. If when you go on tour, if we can get to a show, we get to hear you. But it's just, it makes me crazy that even a band in a border town in Mexico has to pay $3,500 to be considered for a U.S. tour.
Yeah.
That's stupid. That's extra stupid.
It is.
Well,
So I'm so sorry. I have lint on my face.
No worries. Our previous band, Ammoniaco, right? We used to play in that band. They are a dark wave band from Chile, like from many years ago. They just signed with Cleopatra, like a couple of months ago. So we'll see if that helps to. They are still playing, of course. So if that helps to bring them here, you're right. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy, like how difficult it is to get in the U.S. Like, who was this band? I think Siglo XX was there. Who they got banned from entering the U.S.
Soviet.
Or was it Soviet?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't it because they didn't do the right kind of visa for like South by Southwest?
Yeah, they were traveling as tourists, and in customs they discovered that they were actually touring, so they got banned, I think, for 10 years.
I think the same thing happened to Cellophane too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Lebanon Hanover. Hanover just had that happen.
Yeah, Lebanon Hanover. Yeah, so it's like that's the risk of coming sort of like undercover, and this is why, for instance, Dioval Strain, they were very smart to work with the Chilean government to get like these funds to come here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
That's usually the case. Like, so I mean, right now we are like, crap. Like we just have these pandemics coming, and we had plans to tour the West Coast later this year. So that's And then we have like best case scenario, we have like 2 years in our visa right now. I mean, best case scenario if they approve our application now, because it could be like anything between a few months and 2 years. So it's like, hopefully we can do some US tour before we have to leave, because otherwise coming back will be, just unaffordable, I'm afraid.
Well, you can always drive down to Florida.
right. Or Texas. Just saying.
Jules, if I remember correctly, you worked as a promoter for a while?
Yeah, Claudia and myself. So we started with working independently with Santiago DK. And the aim was, I'm talking about 10 years ago, we were like, through a time, as you said, like the goth scene has always been ongoing, but at the time you only had like these bigger clubs and you will always go and listen to the same music ever and ever and ever and ever. And we wanted to highlight some like different music that was going on at the time in Europe and Latin America and the US, and also a central part of our project was to have live bands as well. I don't know in other parts of the US, but at least here in Boston, it's not common to have this mixed format of a band playing and then a party with people dancing. It's like one or the other. I don't know why. It's very weird, but like we have tried, and you put the band playing, right? And then the band finishes, and you put the DJ, and people just leave. But,
Really? Because they've started doing that some in Dallas, where they start with one DJ, and then the band plays, and usually they play a little bit shorter set, like a 20 minutes to half an hour set. And then the music starts, and it's like the music gets like louder and faster, and people stay and hang out, and the band mingles with everybody else and joins the party. So,
but I think you're talking about, let's say, Boston. I mean,
that's
why I don't think in New York. I think
right.
New York.
That's why I was saying that I don't know how it is in other parts of the US, but here we have this.
No, it's not like that. That's new. That's new in Dallas. That's new in the last 6 months. And they were just starting to do that more and more, and then the pandemic happened.
I think that's new in Florida as well, because usually people clear out real fast after the bands finish.
Yeah, I mean, in Latin America, it has been the format like forever. So we use that a lot. Like usually you will start with the bands, and then people will just stay and hang out and stuff.
Well,
sorry?
Oh, I was just going to say, the only time that I ever see people stay after the band finishes is if it's like a specific party hosting. So if it's like a very specific night that's usually a dance night, then people stick around to dance. But if it's just like like a regular like promoter, like a band promoter, people tend to clear out.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
they do it early though. Like here, the band will play at like 10 or 10:30. Or somewhere between 9 and 11, so people are ready to stay out for another 2 or 3 hours. And it's gone rather well from what I've seen.
Yeah. So anyways, that's the format that we wanted to promote when we started with Santiago DK back then, and we had several bands from Chile playing, like some of them that haven't played in a long time. So
actually that was our first party was with a band that never played after that party. This band is from the 94. They were one of the first gothic bands in Chile. So, and we met the bass player, and then we became friends at that time, and we were like, okay, bring this band again to play live. And after some years, after 94. So just imagine after like 15 years. So we did a big party, and we brought these guys. The band is Verso per Verso, in case Verso per Verso. I don't know if there are a lot of records. I think there are some on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. And we did this party, and it was great. I mean, just bringing this like kind of post-punk band again.
Yeah. Yeah, so
that's amazing.
So we worked a lot with underground bands that didn't have a space in other circuits because they were like too underground, right? And then we started doing like international bands. So that's when we met Lucas Lantier, actually, because we brought him to Chile, and people were crazy seeing him. It's like people really love Lucas Lantier then. And it was like we were helping the production of like Christian Death going to Chile. We co-produced this festival in Brazil that Claudio was talking about, the Good Gothic Festival, with bands from Brazil, of course, and Los Carniceros del Norte from Spain, Attrition from the UK, so Bettina Koster from Malaria.
That was the previous year, right?
Yeah. So we had the pleasure of living with Bettina Koster for like a week in a small cabin. She's so great, and it was like a really great experience because in those times people in Brazil were not using social media. I mean, Facebook was just becoming a thing elsewhere, and in Brazil they had this other social media at the time, Orkut. Like nobody used that but Brazil. So the thing is that when we went there and we did this, I like to think that we started to build some sort of a bridge between Brazil and the rest of Latin America, and now with social media, of course, that's much more spread. Right, and you see the fruits of that, like with people that has become friends because of that festival, and they remain friends nowadays, and it's so cool to see that. Right?
Yeah. No, important to mention our friends Nanda and Marcelo Capeta from Das Project from Brazil. They are doing great things, like integrating Brazil with Latin America. They are doing festivals. They are doing bringing bands from different countries. Our friend Carol as well, right? Plastic Noir is playing in Chile, I think. Plastic Noir.
Yeah, from
amazing.
Yeah. So nowadays Carol from Morton Collections is this girl. She's bringing a lot of the nice bands like 45 Grave.
45 Grave. They came to So some things happens in Latin America.
Yeah.
I remember one of the first concerts in Latin America, if I remember, is Two Witches. They played in Brazil in the 80s. 80s, 90s, I don't know, but it was really, really like long time ago. That was one of the first, let's say, Gothic, like, let's say,
It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple of international, well, I say international, a couple of labels out of Brazil that have bands from all over the world. Like, is it Manic Depression out of?
Depression is from France.
Yes.
Damn it. Deepland? Is Deepland from Brazil?
Deepland Records.
Okay. I don't know why I equate those two. There's another one that starts with an M that I'm messing up with, Manic Depression.
Oh gosh, I'm thinking Wave Records.
Yes, that's Brazilian too.
Yeah, Wave. Yeah.
So those are the two I would say from Brazil. Like Deepland is this from Nanda Marcelo that Claudio was talking about, and Wave Records is the other one. So we have met all these people in the Wood Gothic Festival, and we started our relationship that lasts until today. Like with a lot of the people in Latin America that we are naming today. Right, we have some sort of relation, and it's super cool that even now in the distance we can keep that connection. At least helps me to feel not that far from home, right? And if hopefully people here in the US can listen to some of these bands, I think in Latin America one thing that I always like to emphasize is this intensity with which we live music. It's like whenever a band goes to South America, people are like all over the place, like, oh my god, and it's not like here in Europe that people are like, oh, I'm too cool to you know.
No.
Yeah.
Or maybe because they are used to have bands all the time touring, you know. I mean, it's easier. It's easier, and this is an important point, you know. It's easier to tour the US or Europe compared to Latin America, because the geography, you know, and the main cities are, you know, so all the logistics things, all the flights, all the, you know, all that stuff is very expensive, and we can tell you because we did it at that time, right? I mean, it's more expensive to finance your cost, your investment, right? Yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is that in Latin America, we have a dynamics around the underground culture. Like, for instance, I don't know, I DJ'd in squats a lot, like a good number of times. Like here in the US, you don't have that sort of underground spaces anymore. Like, well, not too much, because
like old raves, y'all. She's talking about like old raves where you go to like an old warehouse and you like bring some electricity in and have a party.
Yeah.
We did have that, Jules. It's just kind of, it's gone now.
Yeah.
Because you'll just get arrested. And unfortunately, squatter parties where you had to know who was running the party, and they would move all over the place, and it was never in the same place twice within like a few months or a few years of each other. They used to do that in Dallas in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Long time ago.
Yeah, so I would say, like, in Latin America, we still, like, it's less and less, of course, with time, but we still have that kind of dynamics.
And I think, you know, in Latin America, the punk is closer to goth, I would say, than in the US, for instance.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Punk is pretty close to metal in the US now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Really, it's I'm just thinking of all the Latin American stuff I've listened to, read, all that kind of stuff. Punk is just much more, I don't want to say obvious, but it seems more related, closer. Like the punks are going to the goth shows, the goths are going to the punk shows. And here we don't have as much crossover. We have hipsters going to the goth shows. And sometimes goths go to the goth shows.
Sometimes. Occasionally.
It's I'm not kidding. It's like some shows it's like maybe 10% of a goth band will actually be goths.
But then you have the death rockers going to all the goth shows.
That is absolutely true.
There's always a mohawk there, right?
There's always some with like Drab Majesty, and I know that people can't decide if they're goth or not, depending. But at that show, there were probably 10 of the 200 people, 10 or 15 visible goths there.
Right.
So, and that was the demonstration, y'all. It wasn't Modern Mirrors demonstration.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if in Latin America, I was thinking, like, if I had to recommend you guys, like, places to go, like, where do you, like, for instance, in Mexico, is definitely El Rialander. Like, you're not a goth if you go to City of Mexico and you don't go to the Rialander. We didn't have the chance to go, but we were to a festival in Mexico 2 years ago. It was Lucas Lantier playing, and Eva O and Gorgonas. And we just went there, like, out of like an impulse. We knew nobody. We just went, right? And people there were so nice. I mean, the venue was in this like residential neighborhood. It was super far away from everything. City of Mexico is huge, by the way. It has like 20 million people, so it's a whole country itself. So we ended up like in this like random neighborhood, in this like sort of like house/bar, and we just started to talk to people, and everyone was super nice. We still keep in touch with some of those people until today. They offer us to show us the city, you know. We weren't alone the whole night, and they couldn't believe that we were like going all the way from Boston to that festival. yeah, I mean, and a lot of these people are regular from the Real Under, so that's definitely a place that I recommend you to go. Like, not only because of the music, it's also about the atmosphere, the community that you have there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think what is interesting from the Mexican scene is that they promote like different things. It's not always around the music, but for instance around like different arts, like different dark arts. So they do like festivals like during the day. Like it's not everything always like parties and and bands.
Right. They promote the whole scene.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that feeds into it. I mean, yeah, we have the music, but we have all this other stuff.
Conversations about the culture, right? You meet and you talk about what is being a god, right? I don't know. It's just,
Vegete does that in Germany. Wave Gothic Treffen does some of that as well.
Oh,
they have a lot of stuff going on. It's kind of overwhelming, but they do have discussions. I mean, I went to one, so I know they have them. But they promote a lot of the other stuff.
She was climbing on my leg, so wanna say hi to all of Twitch people in Twitch.
So tolerant to let you do that. My dogs would be freaking out if I did that.
Well, I kind of feel like we have some of that in Tampa, where we promote like all kinds of scene activities. Not so much art, but just like doing things that are less on the show side and more on the just like experiencing other aspects sort of side, because we have like some goth lounge type areas and
we have a very active vampire court that works out of one of our, I say works, but they do a lot of charitable works and stuff like that out of one of the clubs that just the building closed down, but luckily the club had bought another building, so the church will continue.
Wait, what group are you talking about?
The church?
No.
The vampire, the Dallas Vampire
who we were talking
Court
about the other day. Got it.
Right. But they do their functions through the church. So they're very active. So they do other stuff, and it's generally kind of under the umbrella of like that particular part of the goth scene. So they do other functions, but generally it's just go out to shows and stuff like that. And most of the shows here are not fully goth bands, if that makes sense. Yeah. And if they're goth bands, you're going to get post-punk or dark wave. That's it. You're not going to have gothic rock, death rock. We do have a death rock band. Luckily, they do get some gigs. Yeah. But yeah, you're more likely to see a goth band or dark wave or shoegaze goth or kind of a mix it up band, and then some experimental shit, which is also very dark and very cool. I'm not putting it down because it's been very good shows, but we don't have the other stuff. It's like there'll be like a goth fashion show at a club night or something like that, and I'll be honest, I think I'd be more interested in that stuff, but I just kind of theme nights and stuff. I just kind of
Yeah, the castle here in Tampa does a lot of theme nights, and I'm not so much a fan of it because it just gets really crowded.
Yeah, you gotta have a way to get people into the clubs, and so I think some of those theme nights attract non-goths.
Oh yeah, absolutely. People like to feel pretty and dress up.
Right, for a club night, people will dress up.
Well, I think the castle has a furries night.
People aren't dressing up that much. Oh, do they? Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Bruce says that Orlando is kind of doing that as well, but more like normalizing spooky stuff like cocktails and screams downtown.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
We had a goth group that we tried to start one in Denton because I'm north of Dallas, so I'm 30 miles north of Dallas, Texas. And it didn't work. 2 of us showed up twice, and it never happened again. We had a goth night, but it was weekly. It was a little bit too much, and when they started adding metal in, so more people would show up, they killed it. So my friend and I are hoping to do at least one goth night before we die. And we're starting to plan that. We just have to find a venue that we can afford, and that's, of course, the biggest, most painful thing is you have to be able to take a total loss the first time you do something.
Well, the first, 2 times you do something.
Well, I'm talking 100% total loss plus on the first one, and probably 100% total loss plus on the next 3. for anything like, but you have to keep at it, and if you don't keep at it and you're inconsistent, it will never take off.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
So
Like,
and now
you do
we're
an event. I don't know if there's better response in y'all's experience, but oh god, I can't believe I just used y'all. Shoot me now.
welcome to the
But
South.
like the second event, the first event always does great, and then the second event it's like complete failure. And then if you can get over the second event, the third event is usually pretty much where you land.
It sometimes I don't know, it goes up and down, and trying to get a regular crowd, like sorry, I'm just having so many allergy problems. Like I live in a college town, so you can't depend on income. You have to have enough money to fail making money, if that makes sense. Because you have people coming, and I swear to you, on Goth Night, half at least would come in and they'd have water on the bar, not charge cover, and half the people there would not pay anything at all evening to the bar or to the Goth Night.
Yeah.
So it was absolutely volunteer, and in that particular venue, it was absolutely perfect. It was an Abbey Underground. It was called the Abbey Underground, and they had like even this barred-in tables and stuff like that. It was fantastic, and then the bar closed, so the venue closed. And when your venue closes on you, it's really difficult because it almost kills the night when you try to find a new place.
Yeah.
But I have high hopes. From what you guys are saying, I love having a band play at a Goth Night and then the party. And I love that people in Germany, they call them parties. They call them goth parties, and it's just a goth night at a club or whatever. And I like that it's called a party. It just makes it sound more festive.
Yeah. And I mean, like, at least in Santiago, the thing was that since you have this issue with venues all the time, people were like more loyal to your night, like to your brand, something that,
Right.
than to the venues. So changing venues was not a big deal because you were doing that all the time, whatever. So like, fuck it, I will go.
People will
Right.
come.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see with the church. I think the church is going to survive. I think they're going to survive their move. And I think that the first few goth nights, I'm not going until a bunch of people, wear masks or whatever. But I think that they'll do really well, and I think that they're going to survive. So, okay, so one thing I wanted to ask, because I've heard this multiple times from different people, is that people I know Mexico for sure, but I would expect Latin American just in general. Do you find that the audience themselves is more educated than in the U.S.?
I would say it depends. I would say that the audience that has surprised me the most is Peruvian people. Like we went to play a show with Ammoniaco in 2015 in Lima, right before we moved to the US, actually, like 2 months before that. And it was amazing how, well, nobody knew us there to start with. they did this show, they invited us, but it's not that we had this international name or whatever. I mean, we had done some things like 2 years before that, we had the chance to open for The Cure in Chile.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that gave us a bit of a name, but it's not that we were like super known, And they did this show in a very like in a neighborhood, like very like outside the city. It was pretty difficult to get there. So we were like, who the fuck is gonna show up to this thing? And we ended up with 400 people there.
Wow.
And people were like, and when you talk to people that night, people were able to discuss with you about music from different decades, styles, countries. Not only knowing like I know this band's name and the song name. They could talk to you about the history of the band. Like it was like really, really amazing. I mean, that came as a very pleasant surprise for me, I would say. And in Mexico, I would say as well that people are very educated, as Claudia was saying, not only about the music but about other dark arts as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You were saying something.
No, in Peru, fully agree. In Peru, they have this. They listen to a lot of music. They have this region what is the name of the region? The Oru.
Oroya.
La Oroya is kind of the Manchester of Lima. Right? So they have this kind of it's a city, right, which is full of music and nights and bands all playing all the time. It's really 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 cool. Yeah.
In very high altitude. That's
big lungs, big heart.
We've been lucky, because we've been to several countries in Latin America, so we have lived the experience in actual nights in different countries. So
yeah. I mean, in Buenos Aires, they have Gothic BA, Gothic BA, like Gothic Buenos Aires.
It's been like more than 20 years. I think that more than 20 years since they do, since Adrian does these, parties and concerts and
yeah. He's the one to talk if you wanna have a band in Buenos Aires. Adrian is your man, and these Gothic nights, and they always do this crazy stuff like in old palaces and stuff, and people dress up, and it's really really cool. And in Buenos Aires, you start partying. At least that was our experience. So if anyone in the line can confirm that you start partying like the pre-party at 1 a.m. At that time, people will come to your place. You will drink some glasses of wine and stuff, and then around 3, you get to the club.
Oh my God! Wow!
And you can go party until 10 a.m. like easy. So it's super crazy. Or in Peru, same thing. When we were there playing.
In Peru, they continue the thing. Yeah.
Oh my, bless God! Like you will start around midnight, and then I remember we left around 7 a.m. because the singer was feeling like not too well, so we had to go back. Remember that we were like in this very distant neighborhood. So we couldn't just stay there. We had to go all together because it was also not a pretty good neighborhood. So yeah, you don't want to be there alone. So we left at 7 a.m. and people were dancing like crazy, and everybody was like, "No, how are you living right now? We are like keeping here until midday, and then we will go to the after party." And then we'll go like the whole day, and then they will start like the next night.
They are monsters.
Yeah,
monsters.
It's just like
monsters of party in Peru.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a country that I definitely recommend going. Especially if you're a band, go and play in Lima. People are amazing. Yeah. They know a lot about music. They're gonna love you, and they're gonna treat you super well. And the food is just fabulous. So
go Peru. Go to Peru. Yeah, we're promoting, right? Touristic.
Yeah, no, but I mean. Right. I mean that's the thing. In Latin America, is so diverse. You have so many things going on. Yeah. In Chile as well, right? We talked about Carol, right? We ourselves, we were doing stuff in our time, and you have at least 4 bands that immediately come to my mind right now that are doing very good stuff, Ammoniaco, which we already named. They just signed with Cleopatra Records, right? Ex Causa de Muerte, now Human Distance, right? Pinzatina, they are a very, very, very good band. It's one of my favorite bands, actually. They do this very special kind of music. They define it as trip goth. It's very, very interesting. It's like nothing you have heard in the goth scene, and I have listened to.
Yeah, I think they are playing right now. I think they're doing a live session right now.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's between trip hop and gothic music, so it's really really special. It's Pinzatina. No, they're really 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 special.
I know that Switchblade Symphony described their music that way. It's a cross between trip hop and darkwave.
Well, it is on the 3 Fates. The 3 Fates, right? The 3 Calamities. That one sounds very trip hop to me. So okay, spell that band name so I can put it in the chat.
BINZATINA. Vinzatina. There you go.
Okay, that looks right.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
playing.
because I also, I love the more experimental side of goth because I think that innovation comes from the experimental side. So stuff that's just, I'm more likely to call things goth that some people won't. I think that's kind of from being from the 80s, from being old as shit. So I listen to some of that stuff and then I get very excited because you can hear those goth elements and then you can hear something new. So,
Right.
Bean Satina. Excuse me while I just type that into my.
And you were mentioning
Yeah,
Sangre
Sangre
Rosa,
Rosa, they are like very old, like more than 20 years playing.
Devil's Train, of course.
Devil's Train, Sea Temples,
Yeah.
Sea Temples from the north of Chile, a very interesting post-punk music. No,
Okay, will you spell that one?
See,
that's in English. Sea Temples. Sorry for my Sea
Oh,
Temples.
sea like sea.
Like the
like-
ocean, like the ocean.
Oh, God.
Aha.
That's embarrassing. Okay, got it.
No,
Well, I thought it was a really weird Spanish word. I just opened a little Google here and look for them too.
you got it?
I'm always looking for new music, new to me.
Yeah, sure.
It doesn't have to have been released yesterday to be good. Good music is good music, doesn't matter. It's ageless.
right.
Yeah.
You're totally right. I mean, you were gonna say.
Yeah, no, I was going to mention Insider, but that's also it's part of the, let's say, gothic. It's more, let's say, gothic metal power. Power.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
Insider is pretty cool as well. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
yeah, but I mean, I'm totally with you there, Michelle, that good music is good music. I mean, I hate when some bands, they don't have visibility just because they don't know the right people, you know?
We were talking about that today too. I think, wasn't that today, Azzy? We're
Yes,
talking
that
about
was
because
today.
we see,
Where
I'm not
so
saying they're
much,
not good.
so much like mediocre shit rises to the top, and like the truly good stuff
Yeah.
gets kind of drowned out.
Because people want to hear stuff that honestly is a little bit of a copy of something they already like, because new stuff takes sometimes some brain power to listen to. You have to be willing to open your mind and listen to something new and accept it for what it is instead of try to categorize it into something that you think it should be.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we were talking about some smaller bands that I mean, we talk about them, but they just don't get the recognition that we feel that they could and or should get. I mean, there's 7 billion people in the world. There's enough viewers, listeners, whatever, for all the bands that are out there.
Mhm.
But we do see bands, a band gets popular, and then the copycat bands get some of that notoriety that could be going to something different.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of new bands lately that sound almost exactly like Twin Tribe's song Fantasmas.
Yes.
Like exactly like that track, not like the rest of their discography, just that
It's a
track.
good song. It's a good song.
Yeah, and
From
yeah,
Ceremony, right?
Amazing.
yeah. I mean,
Super good.
yeah. I was talking to DJ Sinis last night a bit about that at least to me, I don't know, Claudio, you can have probably more self-confidence than I do, but to me it's difficult to think how people are gonna receive our music, for instance, because we are not in that trend of club, dark wave-ish
Right,
style.
right.
And we have some sort of like more weird songs in the album that is upcoming, so it's just weird to think, like, as a musician, how people are going to receive that, because people are used to like a certain like kind of sound right now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you're doing something that is a bit different to that, it's like you make it or break it. So hopefully it goes well.
Right. Well, one thing I noticed about your music, that I listened to a bunch of it today, or whatever I could get to, is that you have you use some of your belting voice, a little bit of the what do you call it? A little bit of death rock, a little bit of post-punk sound, but you have a higher range than the average we'll say traditionally feminine belting voice, because there's a lot of like in Switchblade Symphony, it's perfect. People are always thinking about that mezzo soprano, that lower alto woman's voice, but there is a soprano and an alto, and together it works. And you're hitting that range that's like right in the middle, almost that second soprano range. And you're doing it with belting, and then you're doing it with more of a lyric sound to it. And I thought it was really nice. I liked it because I felt like your vocals were unusual. You weren't barking at me, and you weren't trying to be ethereal. People have done that. They've already done that, and they've done it beautifully, and it sounds fantastic. So I was very, very pleased to hear that you're somewhere in the middle doing kind of your own thing. That's good. That's good. I like it very much.
Thank you. I mean, it's so reassuring because you never know. You're too close to what you're doing, right? And you are your worst critic for good or bad.
but also with vocals, because we have these sounds we think are goth. Now, the goth range of music, the umbrella that holds goth, holds a lot. And I mean a lot of music in it, a lot of influence from everywhere. It just kind of puts a darker sound on it. And so a lot of people try to copy it. For men, they'll try your average male, traditionally male vocal, because you don't have to be a man to sound like that. They'll try to go for that baritone, that specific baritone sound that's not necessarily their natural range. Let's just go with that. And for women, they'll go either for the high ethereal, that almost sounds like a backup vocalist, even if they're the lead vocalist, or they'll go for that lower belting sound, almost like yelling. So to see someone go into their range that's comfortable and do it comfortably is very nice. And I just want to see that more across the board with all bands. I want to see it because goth doesn't have a specific vocal sound. It just doesn't have a specific vocal sound. There's a place for everybody. I haven't heard an opera vocal done really well yet. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen next week.
I would agree with you. Would agree.
Yeah, bravo to that. Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think we are such a diverse scene, and it would be lovely to see that a bit more reflected on the music that becomes more mainstream. Because I'm not saying that nobody's doing that. It's just that we don't know that right. People are doing that. So I think it's like part of our job as bands, as DJs, promoters, and as audience to dig a bit more, because as I said, it's right. It shouldn't depend on you having the right friends, right?
Yeah.
To be known.
Well,
it's like,
I'm hoping that there's a rebellion against exactly what Azzy was saying, is we're getting a homogenization. Like, this is your post-punk guitar. This is your goth guitar. That didn't always exist. I mean, you can have like kind of sneak over into a little doom metal here, or sneak over into a little 80s power ballad here. But I'm hoping that what we're going to see is all these bands are doing all this shit that's all kind of similar, because they haven't found their sound yet. And all of a sudden it's going to diversify, and it's going to fall away, and there's going to be a whole lot less bands. But what we're going to have is going to be really deep and rich and truly goth in innovation. I think that's what's going to happen, but it could be a few years.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's why getting to know how other scenes are is very important to achieve that, right? Like in Latin America, again, it's not that bands have like a determined sound that you're gonna say, oh yeah, this is a Latin American band. No, they're all over the place in all kind of different sounds. And one of the only things that made me sad about World Goth Day was that all the DJs, without exception, were from Europe or the US.
Or Australia, and there's one in Tokyo.
Okay, but still,
there was one in Tokyo. Okay,
yeah.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, now here. Yeah. You're right. But still, like industrialized countries, and Northern Hemisphere, with the exception of Australia, and Australia is an English-speaking country. But in Latin America, we did have two very important events that very same day. One in Mexico, they had their own version of the World Goth Day with Mexican bands and Mexican DJs, and it was like a whole day ongoing thing. And in Latin America, they had a festival with a shit ton amount of bands that day. So like Latino people, they had their own thing going on, but I would like to see like something called for Goth Day, which is a fantastic initiative. I would like to see it like a real global event, and maybe that's something for next year or a next edition to try, right?
Right.
I hope so. I mean, the guy who put it together already pointed that out, that he would love to have more representation from more regions around the world. So that wasn't something that went like unnoticed for sure.
Yeah, and like for instance in Africa, they also have like a small city. Like I'm friends with people in Western Africa who they also have like this scene going on. It's nothing like super developed, but people they listen to a lot of bands. They know about music. They have their own parties there. So Goth is everywhere, in every colors, in every shapes, in all around the world, and it will be lovely to see that reflected, because it will also bring more diversity to the music that we listen. It will,
Yes.
What would you just say are some of the biggest differences you've noticed between like U.S. scene spaces and everywhere you've been in Latin America, which seems to have been a lot, so it may be hard to draw some lines, but
everywhere in Latin America.
Oh, I don't know. You have
So sorry, what was the question?
like the difference between like, Latin American scene and the U.S. For instance.
Latin American scene versus the U.S.
We could talk about Boston and New York, which are the places we have been in the U.S. So we're not talking about the whole country here. So, well, one of the things we already mentioned, right? That here you either go to see a band or you go to dance, but you don't.
Yes.
Which to me was a total shock. It was like, what the heck? And then in Boston, the other shocking thing is that everything ends at 2 a.m.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is like,
But it's more a cultural, right? It's more a cultural.
Dallas.
Yeah, those are what, liquor laws?
Right. I mean.
yeah, and I was like, I can't. Like 2 a.m. is the time I'm getting into the disco. Like, how is this closing?
I think in Latin America, so you join to do the previa, right? To
the pre-party.
The pre-party. It's very, I don't know. It's very normal to do that.
Or I don't know. You know one of the biggest differences I noticed, at least in Boston, is that in Latin America you can go to a party and probably not knowing a lot of people. But you can start talking to people when you go out to have a cigarette, or typically in the restroom. The ladies' restroom is a great place to make new friends. And
what kind of friends?
And
No, you wind up talking to people in the restroom. I do.
I do not.
I have met friends that way, that are friends, that we are friends until today, and that we have met like in parties and shit. In Boston, in Boston, it's like you can talk to people sometimes, yeah, but then the next day they completely forgot about you. So if
That's the U.S.
You won't say hi or anything like that. In Latin America, you most probably will say, hey, good to see you again, and start talking if you had a good vibe before, right?
Yeah, that's very much the U.S. In Dallas, we have liquor laws here. So the party dies for sure at 2 o'clock. Some people will dance until 2:30 because the club will stay open, but there's no more liquor. And they bring the lights up, so it's like, get out. I've had a club tell me to get out at midnight on a Sunday. And I was like, I have to work tomorrow. I took the day off so I could come to this thing. And they're like, yeah, get out. They literally said, get out. So that was a Twin Tribe show. And I was like, okay. They invited me to talk to them after the show, and I couldn't because I was kicked out.
I mean,
they said they came out from behind stage, and they're like, what happened? Everybody was gone. So you get kicked out of places in this area because we have liquor laws. Like on Sunday, you can't buy, I don't remember if you can buy hard liquor at all, but they have to stop serving at 2:00 and they can't start serving before 10 or something like that. So an overnight party has to go somewhere private. And well, I don't get invited to those. But people also, I found the one way to get people to talk to you more on a small scene is if you actually get out there and dance and make an ass of yourself. Then they like you. They like you. Just saying hello. It took me a while to get to know people in the Denton scene. And then one day I was just like, fuck it, I'm just going to dance by myself on this dance floor. And I did. Like 5 people came up to me and said hello afterwards. And it was, but they already knew my face. They already knew what I looked like.
Sorry guys, I gotta go right now. I keep watching. It was really nice to meet you both. Thank you very much.
Hey.
I really enjoyed this, but I gotta go now.
All right.
Got something to do.
Good night,
Bye.
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 Yeah, it's just really interesting to me to hear every person I've ever known that has gone. Usually it's Mexico City. City of Mexico is kind of like everybody's goal to get to something at City of Mexico. Bands who have played there, people have gone there, they say the same exact thing that you say, is that it's so easy to make friends, people are so friendly, the crowd is more educated in general. I mean, I'm going to shows with a bunch of hipsters that I went to a show, I kid you not, Wingtips, who was touring the whole country at the time, had just released Exposure. Everybody was that I knew, let's just say everybody I knew online and in person was super excited about it. And when I went to see them, a different band was actually the headliner, the local band, which is, okay, y'all, it was Rose Garden Funeral Party, which has gotten a bunch of acclaim after this. This was 6 months ago. And nobody was standing at the stage for when the Wingtip started. There were like 4 of us still inside of the club. It took 3 songs and then people were in there and they were into it, but they didn't even know the touring band. And then Rose Garden Funeral Party played after them. They were the actual headliner, was the local band. I've never seen that before.
That's weird.
Now everybody knows who, it was weird. Everybody knows who Rose Garden Funeral Party is now. But, you know, at the table after a show, you know, whatever band is touring, whatever band is unusual. We also had a band that did their last gig ever. They were breaking up after that show. Should have broken it before the show, but they broke up after the show. Anyway, I saw one other person talk to Wingtips besides myself.
Oh my!
I went and talked to him. I introduced myself before the show, then I went after, because they're good. They're very good live. They're very dynamic. They have a lot of energy. There's more than the album. There's more than you expect, especially since they have such a new wave sound. And it was just, I didn't know what to do with that, because I was like, what just happened at this show? Lucky for me, I had a very early appointment at 6 o'clock the next day, so we left before Rose Garden Funeral Party because I'd already seen him like 3 times. So it was just interesting that the local band, rather than the hosted band, was the headliner. Has that ever happened to you?
Yes, and actually, we have had to headline some shows because of that. And it's like, why the touring band is not like the headliners? And it's because it's like people here, a lot of time they go to see like one band in the bill.
Yeah.
So they go to see that band and then they leave. In Latin America, we make our money worth. It's like you pay like the $10-20 to get there, you're gonna see the whole shit.
I go before it all starts, and I leave after the last band.
Mm-hmm.
I may not go out to meet the band because I am tired and cranky by that time, but yeah, I will until the last note is played. I'm like, I ain't leaving until the last note's played, usually. So it's unusual for me to leave early, so I don't know. I probably need to go to Latin America, to every country, and tour around and just go to goth shows, because it sounds like everybody does things the way I want to.
Mm-hmm.
Also at Absolution Fest, we were out until 6 o'clock in the morning, so that was good.
Yeah.
And
times.
And I'm sure you're gonna enjoy this one, Michelle. Is that after we're finished the night, it's very usual to have like an after party, but in not in a house. Normally you do that, but you also have these clandestine places that they're not exactly legal. they're like
right, like a culvert or like a half
it's
falling
like,
building.
yeah, you sort of bribe the police. It's like a very like in between thing, and you go. I mean, I'm not too good to go to those places honestly, because at 5 in the morning I'm already like dying. But yeah, you have those kind of places almost everywhere in Latin America. Like you won't just resign that the party is over and you have to go home. Hell no.
I mean, I've definitely gone to go hang out in a parking lot after shows. Just for hours.
Right. Or yeah, I've gone to after parties, but again, here they don't go until 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, just because of the blue laws and because they will get raided by police. Because people in the U.S. like to call the cops if you make too much noise.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, those warehouse districts have become art districts now. So the place that used to be cheap and had 3 clubs, you had to stay close to the clubs because it was too dangerous far away from them. 2, 3, depending on the month, it was 2 or 3 clubs were open on who had paid their rent. And those days are gone, but you had to stay. It was very safe between this club, and that club over there. But if you got further than the parking lot, you were going to have a serious problem, possibly get beaten up, mugged, whatever. But at that time, people would go to after parties, but that's also when people would go in underage, because in the U.S. we're deathly afraid that somebody cannot be controlled, and if they're too young and drinking, we're not controlling them, so we want to control all that. But it was just so much fun standing in the parking lot. But there'd be like 50 people in the parking lot standing there instead of like 3 or 4, and half the festivities were outside the front of the club, because you talk to people, and the people who are too broke to go inside would hang out outside, maybe drinking a beer, maybe drinking water if you're really, really poor that day. And it was just like a whole thing. It doesn't feel the same as much. Like when I went to Absolution Fest, people are standing outside the venue, and that was pretty cool, but it just doesn't have that same exact feel where you're just hanging out, nowhere to go. Doesn't matter if you're out there till 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, standing in front of the club because the show's over. Who cares?
Oh, yeah, we have that a lot too. At least in Santiago, we do that a lot. Like the whole night, and after the night is over, you will stay there, like smoking, hanging out, having a joint, whatever.
Yeah, the police send you home now. You don't. They will break up the party if you're out there. If anyone's having a good time, they want to kill it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that is the same right now in Santiago, because we have been living in the U.S. for almost 5 years now, and a lot of things change in 5 years, and especially with the
Big
social,
things, yeah.
yeah, and especially with the social unrest that started in Chile, the relationship with the police is completely broken right now, and so they are gonna go fuck you for whatever. So it might be happening as well. I don't know. But
I hope not.
Hopefully not. Yeah, I mean, we were gonna go last April to Chile, but then coronavirus. Yeah, it was gonna be such a good April. Like we were playing Dark Spring Boston on April 5th, and the day after that we were flying to Chile for a couple of weeks to see the friends and the family. So. I mean, we would have had a more updated view of Chile if we had traveled. So, but
right.
We can only share what we lived when we were actually living there, and hopefully it remains more or less the same.
I don't know. There's been a revolution since you moved.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a big deal. But hopefully, I don't know that would change the goth scene so much. I mean, it would change what you can do. Coronavirus definitely has changed everything.
Actually, I think it would change, like, for the good, I would say. I don't know.
You think?
I think people, yeah. I mean, people are, let's say, awakening, right? In terms of the social, you know, the consciousness, right? Of
Yes.
how the things are done, right? So, I think that's something related to punk and goth.
Yeah. Well, are goths more of what we call here? We say here we have to be careful how we say everything, because we're in a lot of social unrest in this country, but not doing anything about it yet. We'll get there. It may wind up getting violent. Who knows? Seems
It is
to be.
getting violent.
But yeah, it is. It is. And I have no problem with looters in Minnesota. By damn, fucking loot if that's what it takes. Anyway, so shit, I forgot what I was talking about. Oh, all right. More social conscious, more. Wow, what do y'all think I was talking about? I lost it. I had a great question.
Probably like, yeah, Claudia was mentioning like the relationship between Goth and like this
leftist liberal type stuff. Yes, thank you. Yeah, do you feel like that's more prevalent in Latin America, in Chile specifically, because that's your experience, than it is here? Because I feel like most Goths, not all, it's never all, we know that, are more towards what has traditionally been called liberal, but we could dispute that, more towards human rights, true equality, a humanizing of all people, and acceptance. I feel like we are more towards that. We are far less likely to own a bunch of fucking guns and go out and just do shit for ourselves. We try to have a worldview. We're more open about our sexuality. We're more open about mental health issues. We try harder, most of us, not all, again, we try harder to accept people's ideas about their own gender, their own sexuality, who they are. Do you feel like that's the same in Latin America as it is here? I say we try. I mean, we fail, but we do try, most of us.
I would say the same.
Yeah. So I mean, I can only speak like closely about Chile, right? But when I was growing up, Chile was a very, very conservative country. Like they called us like the monastery of Latin America. Like divorce. Oh. Yeah, divorce just became legal in 1998.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the environment I grew up with, like post dictatorship, very Catholic, very conservative. Mm-hmm. So even if in Goth you have, of course, people like being very like far right wing and stuff, I would say that Goth culture in general is a more free space, and that's the reason why a lot of us ended up in the Goth subculture, because it was a space, for instance, if you were homosexual, or if you or if you were like non-binary, or whatever you wouldn't fit like in the mainstream society, right? You will find a space within the Gothic scene. I'm not saying, of course, the same as here, right? That is perfect. It's not that this like we are doing super great, but yeah, it is definitely a more open space. And right now, in the last, I would say, 10 years, I would say that Chile has gone all the opposite way, and now we are one of the most liberal countries in Latin America, like especially young people. Like, for instance, you go there and everyone smokes marijuana now. It's like you talk with everyone and their mama, and it's like something so normal. Or things like the diversity of people that you see on the streets. Chile has started to deal with immigration very recently. Like before, we are so far away, and we in a poor country, nobody wanted to go the fuck there. It's like, who wanted to? And so we were not used to this diversity of different cultures and stuff. So it's another challenge that the country has faced, like to accept that diversity and learn from it. So I think in that sense, the Goth culture is still like at the avant-garde of that, like offering a space for immigrants, for instance. If you are, for instance, from other country in Latin America, you go to a Goth party and you can feel pretty welcome. It's not the same everywhere else in society, sadly. So
I don't know about with immigrants here. I don't know. I get excited if I see somebody who I can tell is definitely from a country that's not the U.S. I get excited. I just have to assume everybody else does.
Yeah, but you know, maybe a little different view. I remember, right, like years ago when the Gothic scene started to become, let's say, more popular in Chile.
Mm-hmm.
I remember some other, let's say, wings of the Goth, or let's say like the more electro cyber Goth thing was more racial, more, you know,
Racist?
more racist. Thank you. Yeah, more racist. Yeah, they were looking for more, you know, like the aspect, right? The color of the skin. Actually, I mean, if you look more white, right? There was some racism at that time.
Yeah,
back in the days.
Those motherfuckers were cyber. They were not God. Sorry.
Well, one of my favorite stories is that I was introduced to industrial music to Skinny Puppy and by a black woman.
But you know, maybe what I want to say is that there is racism in Latin America as well, in Chile as well.
Mm-hmm.
You have, like, you know, some people trying to create an elite Goth. I remember, like, kind of, I don't know. There was, and I would say there's still some of that.
Yeah, of course, and you have that everywhere. But I would say that the mainstream space.
Yeah, but the thing is that you create, for instance, in the Gothic thing, you create your party, you create your circle, right? For instance, us, we created like the kind of the Batcave, right? Back in the days.
Right.
So when you are talking about that, you share similar values, right? And that's the thing, right? But there is the other thing too, right, happening there.
Yeah. There's always you can't get away from racism. Every time I see someone tell someone with darker skin that they can't do whiteface, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? The whole point is to look kind of like a corpse. You're not trying to look like a skin tone. You're trying to look like a fucking, you're wearing white makeup and you're wearing ghastly stuff on top of it. We're not trying to be mainstream. We're trying to, well, now just most of us think it's pretty, but there's something shocking about that look as well. It wakes people up. It has that kind of punk rock feel. So when I see that kind of stuff, I'm like, fuck you, that's wrong. It's the same thing as saying you're too young to be goth, you're too old to be goth, you're too fat to be goth, you're too whatever to be goth. That's bullshit. What you are too much to be goth is too much not listening to goth music to be goth. That's when you're not goth. So
maybe something funny, right? I remember when Rammstein became popular, right? 2000, year 2000, something like that, right? People down there, they were like, okay, this is kind of a Nazi band, right? This is like, oh, Rammstein, you know, we are Nazis. And it was like kind of, and it's like, right back on those days, it was crazy.
Like, dude, you have, I don't know if you have this tribe in the US, but back in like 2005, 2010, it became very popular, these Nazi punks.
Oh, Jesus. They were popular in the 80s too. In the 80s they were called skinheads back in the 80s. Yeah. And a reaction to the skinheads, because it kind of went through hardcore punk music in the US, got to the point where it became kind of white supremacist Nazi music in the US. So what's produced now that has that sound, like when Henry Rollins left Black Flag, he's like, yeah, fuck this shit, I'm out. Then that's what happened at that time. So we had a bunch of Nazi punks. And the reaction to that in the US were that there was a whole group of skinheads who were like, fuck you, we are not racist shits. And so they would go out and they would pound on the Nazi punks. Yeah. And then they would get into fights with the Goths because people were less stridently non-violent back then. I mean, when it was new, it was just youth culture. So there was this whole thing of the racist faction against a non-racist faction, and based on thinking about it, the glam rock roots of goth, one of the roots of goth is glam rock.
Your favorite root.
That whole that whole acceptance of people of different genders, or define no gender at all. You be whatever you fucking want. Nobody can tell your gender. That's crazy. And sexualities and all that stuff, and mixing that with that actual I mean, it was fucking anti-racist when I was younger. You were absolutely against skinheads, because skinheads, you're like, wait, what is this? And y'all remember, I was a little kid in the 70s when everybody was trying, before Reagan, because, you know, Reagan kind of where we were progressing, we have declined since Reagan. So to see that kind of stuff, people are they're getting loud about it again. People got quiet about it and just kind of were like, well, free speech it might be a US thing. But I feel like we're getting loud about those things again. We're tolerating less. The only thing we won't tolerate is intolerance. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's a saying about Amsterdam. Yeah, I totally stole that. But
yeah, and when you're quiet about that, you just let intolerance grow. So it's,
right.
Well, it's something. For instance, I think that we as an underground culture, I think shouldn't be neutral about this because there is no neutral. It's like you are either anti-racism and like anti-fascism, or you are helping it, right? So we make a stand for that in our songs, and when we speak, it's like we're not fucking mainstream. We should be fighting against those things. At least, if you cannot go to the streets, if you cannot volunteer, if you cannot do anything, at least talk about that and bring that conversation to your friends. Like, make your friends uncomfortable sometimes. It's like, I'm sorry. You need to.
Right. Well, I think that here we got a little bit complacent, and all of a sudden there it was, and it was in our face, and we're like, we're not having it. You're seeing Goths will stand up much more now than they would even 2 years ago, because it was shocking to see that stuff come up. And all of a sudden we're like, oh, fuck no, this is not happening. So did you have some of that in your scene as well, where people were being more tolerant and being more accepting overall because it becomes a safe space? And I think Goths are more accepting personally now than they were when I was younger. Again, it's not just a youth culture. It's a culture of its own. But did you have that happen where all of a sudden you're like, wait, how did these motherfuckers get into our scene and they got to go? They got to go.
Oh, yeah. We had fights, of course. With those motherfuckers. Yeah.
The Nazi punks. Yeah. Definitely.
Yes. Yeah.
And why are they always trying to get into the goth shit? I mean, seriously, what the fuck do they care about us? We're just a bunch of weirdos hanging out, minding our own business. We want to read some pretty poetry. We want to listen to some music everybody else fucking hates. Why bother us?
And well, you know, I like some black metal music. I have to say, I respect the metal music, and some gothic metal guys also, they want to come to the thing, and there are some. Yeah, sometimes. And there are some racism also from the metal scene.
Yeah. You have to research your black metal bands before you feel safe listening to them.
So it's kind of,
Yeah, and I think that there's room for that type of music. I feel like we don't need to be making room for racist shitheads. We put up with enough crap in our scene. Just walking down the street, getting yelled at, some of us getting pummeled. Sometimes, I mean, I realize Sophie Lancaster is the famous person who was killed, but she's not the only goth who was killed for being goth. She's just the poster child for us to try to stop that. So I just don't feel like there's any place for intolerance, just intolerance in general. At the same time, we're not going to tolerate fucking racists, because that is the embodiment of intolerance, if that makes sense. So yeah, people say I can't leave it alone when I see somebody say some racist ass comment on anybody's anything. I'm just like, I'm gonna come back and be like, well, blah 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 blah, and I'm gonna intellectual filibuster.
And I think one of the reasons why it's so important to talk about racism is because racism is very, very insidious. Like, even when you think you're not a racist, fuck, you are. Like, we all have that. We all have that. Like being Latino doesn't like accept you from being a racist yourself. Being a victim of racism doesn't free yourself from being a racist yourself, right? So we all have that germ. We're not. Nobody can say, oh yeah, I'm like
not
on
because
the top of the scale.
Oh,
no.
no.
because you are a Latino in the U.S., you cannot be a racist, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you can be a Latin racist, of course. And in Florida,
Right.
sorry, there are a lot of them.
I have heard many people of not white, we'll just say not white skin tones, who literally believe they cannot be racist because they are not white. No, systemic racism favors white people heavily, and we have to deal with that. We have to face it. We have to face the incredible embarrassment and humiliation of what we've done to people who are different than ourselves. But that doesn't mean that you can't be racist just because you're not white. That in itself is a fucking racist statement. And if I'm going to try to be my very best and do my best to try to decompartmentalize and deconstruct the racism I was raised with, I would like to see other people who are willing to do that, because no matter how hard I work to try to work beyond the racism that I was raised with, if I'm faced with constant racism because of myself, then how am I to be able to make the world a better place? How am I able to use the power that I've been giving just because the color of my skin? How can I use that when it's faced with a backlash of racism? So I feel like we try really hard in the goth community to, well, I'll just say overcome that. And we do seem to police the shit out of each other about racism. That's one thing I see policed all the time. I'd like to see more Nazi punching personally, but
right. But maybe, and I think that's why, for instance, it's so important to get to know, for instance, the Latin American scene once again, because it's not only about the music diversity. It's also because you know what the communities are about. Like, you can only be racist or homophobic or stuff like that because I think the base of all of this is like just fear of the unknown, right? It's like this
right.
other, this other that is like in no way related to you, right? And it touches like a deep vibe inside yourself that you're probably trying to repress, right? But as long as this stays in the otherness, you will never be able to build that bridge. So I think that's another reason to get to know scenes in other parts of the world, and see how they are doing great things. That it's not like not everything is born in the US or Europe. Others have their own thing going, and it's just as valid as what is happening here. And it will only enrich yourself and your country and your community to get to know that.
That's true.
Yeah, you know, we always love about the concept of the world music, right? That's a US concept, right? The world music. Oh, so you like world music? What is world music? Oh, world music is music that is made outside of the US.
That's
very diverse.
No. World music, in my opinion, is.
Oh, it's world music. Also, you enjoy the world music.
No, world music to me personally is a fusion of completely disparate cultures, like a band like Afro-Celt Sound System. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but they're taking old Celtic music and they're mixing it with Arabic music, and that to me is world music. And American at the same time. So they're mixing these three things together completely. That's world music. But if I'm listening to, let's say, a band called the Zamalek Musicians from Cairo, Egypt, that's not world music. That's fucking Egyptian music.
Exactly.
You're right. And then reggae gets thrown into world music. I was like, I think reggae's worked very hard to be its own genre. It doesn't need to be world.
You create that concept, right? The world music. It's like you are the US and the rest is the world. The other.
No, you are absolutely correct. I wish you weren't, but you are. The Claudio is wise. Claudio is correct. Unfortunately. But again, in the U.S., I think honestly, I feel a burden as a white person to try to help other white people kind of face some of that stuff. They don't like it. They don't like it when I tell them the country's imperialist. They don't like it when I tell them that they benefit no matter if they hate people for the way they look. They don't like it, but I mean, that's the way we're going to get better. And we do it in the US in the goth community all the time. All the time. But you know what? Latinos, US American Latinos have always been there. Have always been there, will always be there. So we're not homogenous. We never have been. We got to fix this. We just got to do better. So thank you for talking to us about this because it helps us in the U.S. because, you know, a lot of our viewers are U.S. because we're in the U.S.
Mm-hmm. No, but
between the two channels.
Sorry.
No.
I mean, we live in the U.S. since 5 years, and
Right.
the U.S. is so diverse. You have good and bad people everywhere, right? And in the U.S. you have amazing people, and I mean, we love Boston. We love our friends that we have met here. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys, thank you for having us.
Yeah.
No, really, no.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I always like to remark that that
it's not
that-
it's not all everything negative.
of course we will
Not
be
at
living
all.
here.
Not at all.
but
Right.
yeah, and I always like to remark this, but when we moved to the US, we knew nobody. It was just the two of us. And one of the things that make us feel like we belong here, I mean, the main thing is the goth community. By all means, in Boston and across the US. It feels a bit like this family that you have, you know, like this, you're connected with people, and you don't feel like you're floating in the air, deprived from your friends, your culture, and everything. You have like some roots, you know, and that's the space that the goth culture has given us, and we are like beyond appreciation for that, you know.
Yep.
Good. Well, we're glad you're here, giving us another bridge to a whole world of goth music that a lot of people in the U.S. wouldn't know, having not met you.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, I'm still working on that article. So yeah, because can I say this? That Obscura, and then you're starting like a magazine, right? You have an issue out already, right? I think it's sold out, right? The first issue.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Good for you. Love that. And now the idea is to compile a bit of what we have been talking about today into at least part of an issue. So if like for whoever is watching this or who will watch this and have lost the names of the bands that we have talked about, or the DJs or the venues, they are all gonna be named in this issue as well. So
thank you for promoting that, because I forget to promo myself all the time, and I'm over here in the chat being just like, check out Pilgrims of Yearning, guys.
Right. And I don't have anything to do with the magazine, so I need to be reminded.
I have one question. Our friend Angel, right? He's also part of Obscura Undead, right?
yeah.
Angel, I'm from this as well, right? So Angel from Obscura Undead, he will do a review of our album, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, he mentioned that to me. I'm all about it.
DJ Seraph, he is also doing like this, I don't know if weekly, but he is like often doing this set list as well. And I love the music that he plays because he always goes a little bit deeper, you know, not into the obvious hits.
Cuts.
Yeah, he's very good, and we have shared with him at our place. He's great, so I'm glad that he's part of Obscure Undead as well.
Bye.
Something happened there.
Oh no, something terrible must have happened.
Oh my god.
I guess we'll find out.
It's not an earthquake, right? Because nothing is moving there.
I don't know if they have earthquakes in Texas.
I don't think so. That's Cali.
What can happen in Texas? Like something like sudden.
Floods?
Maybe a cow broke into his place.
A cow or a deer. In Florida, we just have gators breaking into homes.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Oh, tornadoes. Someone pointed out tornadoes. If
That
I had
counts.
to guess, it is a dog problem. She has several chihuahuas.
Oh.
Chihuahuas are a big deal.
Yeah, those Mexicans.
Yeah, they're poking. Malos perros, malos perros.
Yeah. I've only ever lived through one earthquake, and that is scary.
Oh.
You have been?
I've been in
Where?
one earthquake, and that was when I lived in Hawaii,
Where?
and it was very scary.
Hawaii.
Hawaii.
Yeah.
Do you remember how strong it was?
It was not very strong, but it freaked me right the fuck out. The ground shouldn't move.
Well,
So what did you do?
I stood there, and I was just like, what the hell just happened?
In Hawaii?
And then it was over, yes.
Oh.
are you okay, Michelle?
All good?
I had to go to the bathroom, y'all.
Oh, okay.
I'm fine.
Not the
I'm fine.
Chihuahuas.
I was like, gotta go. No, my dogs are being quiet. I have 3 little Chihuahuas. 2 of them, well, they're all old. 2 of them are very old, and usually there's some chaos. But I just did an interview recently, and one of my dogs is barking, bark, bark, bark for 45 minutes of it.
Oh, God.
Super. Yeah. So it's the teeny show. He's this big. So no, I just had to go to the bathroom. And I was like, instead of going, I gotta pee, I thought I'd just get.
You thought you'd
Since
just,
it's just
rip
me.
off the headphones, throw them down, run away. We were all worried.
Yeah.
I waited as long as I could, but I have the spastic bladder, y'all.
Oh, there is a question for the band. Do you plan to
Yay!
release the acoustic material of your recent performance?
Sorry, what was the question?
The question is, do you plan to release the acoustic material of your recent performance?
Oh,
Why not?
well, I mean, that idea hasn't crossed our minds until now.
But yeah, I mean, the fact is that Sean was not able to play with us at that time, the bass player. So our session has not a bass, but if someone wants the songs, yeah.
Yeah, why not? I mean, time is what we have right now. Like,
Yeah,
even
those
if
be your quarantine sessions.
Right, seriously, I bought the Hapex one, the Hapex live one. It's fantastic. We like that. We like the live version. Some of us really love live versions of stuff. I say release it.
Yeah, sure.
Spend 10 minutes mastering it for live. Release.
yeah, I mean, definitely we can do something like that after we release the album, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right now we are like in this whole craziness of releasing things, and yeah, it's been a couple of busy weeks. You won't expect like when
Are you
sorry.
Are you going to release merchandise with the album? I pre-purchased it. I can't remember what I pre-purchased though. Is there an LP or a CD coming out?
Yeah,
Or is it digital?
Yeah, it's the album that's coming out on on June 26th. So we have given it like a big thought about merch and stuff. And the thing is that at this moment it's not safe for us to go to mail things, right? And we don't have a label either, so we can't do things through the label. And I am at high risk of whatever complications of this shitty virus. So I will stay home until like everybody like is out and have a vaccine already. Then I'm coming out. So
Right.
I mean,
Same.
so I mean, if in between we get a label and stuff and we can work in having our merch out, then definitely we have designs and everything ready to go. It's just
Right.
that we don't have the physical chance to.
And
Right.
for the moment we are putting the album like Name Your Price, right? Basically it's like you pay whatever you want, so it's the same. Yeah, it's only, let's say, digital for now.
Yeah.
And name your
Let me
price
just-
available for, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, I can see that one day it will say new because it now says pre-purchase, but I'm like, when is it coming out? I'm just going to share the link with everybody. There you go. There's the Bandcamp link on YouTube, and let's put it on Twitch.
Yeah.
Because this is how we keep the goth world existing, is by supporting our musicians. Our musicians support us, we support them, y'all. We have more access to our musicians than any other subgenre of music I can think of.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, we are releasing our video tomorrow, right?
I know.
The video tomorrow.
Yeah, that was a funny one that we had to do it in quarantine. So we did it here in our place. We turned the whole place upside down to make this sort of like stage.
Sean did the same, right? Our bass player, he did it at his place.
Ooh, even better.
The things.
Yeah, and the thing is that what we like to do in our videos, we did that previously in Ammoniaco, and we do this now with Pilgrims of Yearning. We like to do our music videos like some sort of storytelling.
Ooh.
So it's not just us playing, which is like for some bands they do that super awesomely and they look very cool. We are not as cool, so we have to do something more entertaining to get people watching us for 4 minutes, right? So we do, we have a story going on in the video. We have costumes and stuff, and so I don't want to say too much, but I hope it's gonna be fun. We laugh ourselves and society a lot. So I hope it's gonna be fun. And
there is a lot of toilet paper. The video toilet paper.
Well, I think that being cooped up and being kind of restricted expands your creativity in just a different way. So I'm very excited to see it.
Thank you. And yeah, definitely. And I mean, in this context of quarantine is why we also wanted to put the album in a name your price format, because we know that people are going through hard times. I mean, a lot of people don't have a job now, or they can hardly pay bills or food or whatever. So we don't want money to be an obstacle for people to enjoy the album. I mean, if you can support us, then that's great. That will help us to keep doing music. But if you can't, by all means, we'd rather have you listening to the music and give you some company. So it's like, by all means, just don't be shy. Go in there, pay what you want. You can support the bands also. If you can't support them with money, you can always support them by sharing their material, talking to them and to your friends. Going to the shows whenever we can play live again. So it's not all about the money. Money is important, of course, but it's not all that it is.
Right, money equals food, and in the U.S. medical care, so it is important. But yeah, I always tell people share the Bandcamp, y'all. Share the Bandcamp, share the YouTube channel. Those are your two. YouTube gets the word out. Bandcamp actually pays the artists.
Yes.
Because the people so heavily affected by this are the first ones to give their shit away free, so that people don't go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been musicians and artists. It's been absolutely amazing to see.
Yeah. I mean, Bandcamp is by all means my favorite place because of that. Most people will go to Spotify because they can do playlists. I mean, yeah, I do that too, of course, but it's not my favorite place because Spotify, they just like rob artists badly. Like, I think it was Beyonce who's too. Yeah. I mean, if Beyonce
Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift too.
So if Beyonce gets fucked up by Spotify, what do you wait? Like,
yeah, how does a smaller band? Yeah, I went to look to see who pays the most, and I think YouTube actually pays the least. So you put up your videos, and they actually pay you if you make enough, have enough subscribers to make money. YouTube is the least. Bandcamp is the most. I think Amazon is higher up, believe it or not. And Google if you buy the service, but you gotta buy the $10 a month service, etc. So I just tell people listen on Bandcamp. If the band's on Bandcamp, go there. It's your best shot.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, you'll get a lecturing message saying, "Hey, should you buy this?" And you're like, If you can't afford it, you can't afford it. Don't buy it.
Mhm.
But yeah. So thank you for putting that out there with pay what you can. I've seen a lot of generosity. We're seeing the best and the worst of people. Really, the coronavirus has really kind of shown us that. But we need to sign off because we are after 9. We try to end at 9,
10?
but I got up and interrupted it. 9 for me,
Whatever.
10 for some of you.
Yeah.
What time?
Well,
Alright.
let's put out an
It's 10
open call. Are there any last questions
Questions?
for Jules and
Any more?
Claudio?
Yeah, Bone Daddy says, I love when bands do this. It shows that they really care about the music and the fans.
Oh,
Again, I can't say enough that we have so much access to our musicians, y'all. Go up and talk to them after a show. Send them a message. Don't be weird and stalkery, though. It's creepy. And do
No, like-
not send naked photos. What the fuck?
Crazy access, because I just asked Jules if she wanted to do this on Tuesday.
Yeah. Seriously, I interview bands on my channel, and I just ask them. I just send something and ask them. And, I mean, so far I've gotten 12 to agree to it. 12 suckers have agreed to it. So
Is that 12
This-
bands or 12 individual people?
oh, that's 12 bands. It's like 40 people, 30 people or something like that.
See, there you go. Jason, that's
Yeah.
going up on postpunk.com. That's where it's premiering tomorrow.
Right. Post-punk.com. And look forward to Jules is writing an article on I Missed the Subject for Obscura Undead.
Yep, and that
And
is
there
going to
will
be
be an
in our
album
upcoming
review.
zine, which we are putting the finishing touches on, hopefully this weekend. Final
okay,
push.
so what's the release date on the zine?
I don't have a release date on the zine. It's gonna come out when it comes out.
Okay,
Don't plan
the
more than a
album
week
release.
ahead. Come on.
I know, sicko. The album release is June 26th
Right.
with video coming out tomorrow. Pilgrims of Yearning. I think we put that several times. We put the link in the chats.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird having 2 chats, y'all. It's like they both seem like they're inactive, but when you go between, everybody has a burst of something they're saying, and all of a sudden then it gets quiet. Okay, well, if there's no more questions, then we're going to log off.
There
so
are
we can
2
go to
more
bed.
things.
Where?
One of them is on Twitch. Someone was wondering, so your West Coast tour plans got canceled. Do you have like a time frame in mind for when you would pick up shows again?
Ooh, as I was saying, we don't really once it's safe, because I mean, if I was in higher risk, I would probably venture out like before, but we just have to wait. And it hurt us a lot, but hopefully it will be before our visa expires, so we have the chance to perform in the US.
As soon as we can.
Yes.
Yeah, and you said that was in 2 years that your
Yes.
visa expires? Yeah.
Yeah. So-
And then
But thank you for the interest.
Yeah,
And that's
it's
it.
like I can't believe that someone like people want us in the West Coast. That's great.
I want you in Florida. So when it's safe,
Yeah,
come to Florida.
People probably want you everywhere. It's just a matter of getting that word that we want to see you to the local promoters.
Yeah.
And I will ask. Well, we probably need to get the pandemic a little bit, more vaccinated
Mm-hmm.
first. Just saying, as a person who's hiding in their house. And then start asking. Because, yeah, I think I know at least one promoter in my area.
All right. So yeah,
And there aren't any in
anyone in chat, go hit up your local promoters. Bother them a ton. Like, some promoters are really awesome and super tuned in, and some promoters are kind of checked out, and you never know what you got in your scene, so go bother people. Because otherwise they'll never know.
Right. Like if you want to see more even of a genre of music, like we don't get any gothic rock here. I haven't asked because I know that that's not in demand by anyone but me. But ask in your area. Start asking for darkwave and stuff like that. If you're getting kind of dark bands, but you're not getting actual goth bands, just start asking for them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Request them in your DJ nights. If you want to hear that shit in your DJ nights, I say DJ nights, goth nights, whatever you call it, goth nights, parties, whatever. to start requesting that, because I know one of our local ones, all the requests I ever see are new wave. So I was gonna go and I was gonna make some requests the night before, and then the pandemic happened. Like 2 days before, I was like, "Oh, what can I request? I'm gonna request," and I was like, "Well, so much for that. No requests."
Well, at least there are plenty of people DJing online. Make your requests there.
If they could play less industrial, that's not a cough, cough, cough industrial.
All right.
Me. Okay, well, I think we've got all the questions in. And DJ Sirius says it's so wonderful to see you.
Oh, likewise. Thank you, DJ Sinis. He has been very supportive from the beginning. So, and we want to thank again, to the DJs across the US who have been supporting us, from, I don't know, a year, more than a year now, when nobody knew us at all. There were these people there supporting us, and without them, you wouldn't go anywhere as a band. So I will write something down as a statement, because I don't want to leave anyone out, and I will. So, but thank you, everyone, and thank you, ladies, for the thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Azzy, and thank you to everyone who had the. Sorry.
I said thanks for being here.
Right.
Thank you for everyone who had the patience to stick on the line with us.
Yeah, we have a fair few people who stick around.
Yeah, we do.
Thank you so much to both. Thank you so much. Really, really nice time.
Awesome. Well, again, this is Pilgrims of Yearning. With they have their upcoming release, Forsaken Lands. It's coming out on June 26th, you said?
Yep.
Yes, and postpunk.com tomorrow. They're premiering the video for That Is In God You Trust.
That's correct.
Yes, 2 for 2. All right, so check it out. I will post the link for everyone one last time. And Jules and Claudio, thanks for joining us such last minute. This was a lot of fun. This was very insightful.
Thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you for sharing.
Hopefully it's not last time.
Yeah. All right, so good night, everybody.
Good night, y'all.
Bye.